In this video, I'll be showing you how to make the letter J using a rubber band loom. I'm using a rainbow loom, but you can use any brand of loom that has the pins in a straight row. I'm only going to be working with one row of pins, so I've taken off the other two, but if you have a loom in which the pins don't come off, that is okay. You will need 22 rubber bands, and I've chosen white and then two different shades of yellow. And we're going to start with the pins facing away from you. And for all of the bands that I place on, they're going to be doubled. So in order to do this, I just place the rubber band on my hook, twist and put it back on. So you'll see two rubber bands on the hook. And I'm going to be starting at the very end. And I am going to place the length of 11 rubber bands going up the loom. So I am going to start with white. And then I am going to switch to my next lighter yellow color. So I'm doubling, putting it on, twisting, and putting it back on. And that's just going to go on that next pin up. And as I'm placing these on, I want to push them down to the bottom of the pin. So that way we have room to add the next layer, which we're only going to be doing on the top rubber bands. But also you need to have them pushed down a little bit just so you have room to add that next rubber band. And now I'm going to switch to my darker yellow color. Now some people like to double the rubber bands on their fingers, and if that is more comfortable and easier for you to do, you can certainly do it that way. I just prefer to use my hook as I'm stretching the rubber bands out in between pins. And I'm going down the length of 11 rubber bands, as I've said. So this is my last one. It's going to stop one pin short from the end of the loom. And now on this very last pin, I want to place a cap band. So in order to do that, I'm going to place the rubber band on my hook, and I want it to be quadrupled. So I'm going to twist and put it back on, twist, put it back on, twist and put it back on. It's going to go right on the top of that pin. It's going to be tight. And now I'm going to go back to the start. I still want the arrows facing away from me. And I'm going to place the length of 3 rubber bands. It's going to start on the end. It's going to be going right on top of those rubber bands that we have already placed on. These are going to form the arm of the letter J that goes across the top. And now I want to put a cap band on top of this 4th pin up where I just ended that last band. And again, it's going to be quadrupled. If you find that your rubber bands aren't very stretchy and you're having a really hard time struggling to get this quadrupled rubber band on, you can just triple that. And so I'm going to turn my loom around so the arrows are facing towards me, and I want to loop these 3 rubber bands. So I'm just putting my hook down through the middle, pushing back on those top 4 bands, grabbing those next 2 rubber bands. I'm not doing anything to this bottom layer yet. And I want to hold this cap band, make sure it doesn't come off. And again, I'm just grabbing the top 2 bands and working my way up. And now I want these rubber bands I just looped to come off, but I want them to stay on this top pin. So I'm going to stick my thumb over top of this, put my hook down in through this cap band, and pull these off. And I'm going to slide them out to the right. It's going to be the 1/2 of the top of the letter. And now I need to turn my loom around again so the arrows are facing away. I want to push this down to the bottom on that pin, and I'm going to place another 3 rubber bands. This is going to be the other half. And now once again I want a cap band on that 4th pin up. And I'm just placing it right on the top. And now I'm turning my loom around again so the arrows are once again facing me. I'm going to loop those top 3 bands again. So I'm pushing back on the top 4, grabbing the next 2, and moving them ahead. And now I want to place my thumb on top of this end pin again. And I want to release these bands I just looped. And now this time I want them to go out to the left. And now I am going to go all the way to the bottom here where my last yellow rubber band is. Now the arrows are still facing towards me, and I'm going to loop the rest of the J. So I'm putting my hook down through the middle, pushing back on these top 4 bands and grabbing the bottom 2. I'm going to hold this in place. And I'm going to go up the length of 2 rubber bands. And now what I want to do is just take these 2 rubber bands off but leave them on this pin. So I'm putting my thumb over this pin and I'm going to release these 2. I want this to angle out to the left, so I'm going to take these bands and put them pretty much straight up, just off to the side, off to the left side here. Angle them up as far as I can without being in the way of looping these next bands. And now I'm going down through. I'm going to push back on the top, grab the bottom 2. I'm going to loop the length of 2 more rubber bands. And now I'm going to repeat that step again where I'm going to take these off. I'll put my thumb on top of this pin. I'm going to release these 2 bands. And again, I want it to angle up. And now once again I'll do the next 2. So I'm just grabbing the bottom 2. And now I'm putting my thumb over top and pulling these off. Now you should have a pretty nice curve at this point. And now I'm going to do the next 2. And I'm putting my thumb over top here and taking these off. And now I want this to be pretty much straight because we have the curve that we need for the J. I want the next ones to just go straight up. So I'm going down through, getting these bottom 2 again. And now I'm just going to work my way up to the top. And now finally I'm putting my hook down through the middle of all of these rubber bands, pushing it out to the side, taking my very last one and pulling it up through, putting that loose end back on my hook. And now I want to carefully take this off. It's going to be tight at the top because there's a lot of bands on there. And now what I want to do is take the band that's closest to the end of the hook, pull it through the other rubber band, and then pull tightly to make a slip knot. And then here is your J. So you might have to adjust it just a little bit. You want the top to be as straight as possible. And then for the bottom here, you want the beginning part to be straight down and then to curve around. And so there is the letter J. And then here is another J that I made using peach colored bands. Hopefully everyone found this tutorial easy to follow. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook, post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on all of my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to subscribe to those as well. Thanks for watching!